Okay, this is my YouTube channel, and I'm going to give my expertise, if you will, on which I have none, by the way, uh, uh, on various subjects throughout the day. I usually rant on Facebook pretty regular about politics and such, and whatever comes to mind. Today, I'm going to rant a little bit about uh, North Korea uh, and what we're facing. Militarily, no problem. They would not be hard to defeat. We do have problems, however. First and foremost, we've got thousands of dependents over in South Korea, along with about 30,000 troops. Not to mention, uh, our allies of South Korea, of Japan, the Philippines, Guam. Uh, they're all our allies, and at one time or another, this whatever his name is, Kim Young or whatever the hell his name is, I call him a little twerp. He's made threats against everybody at one time or another. Now we can't seem to get China to do anything about it. Now, whether or not there's back channels and China is trying to rein them in or not, I don't know. However it is, as it was reported, I think yesterday or the day before, that China has said, hey, if you fire the first shot, you're on your own to North Korea. I don't know if I believe that necessarily, depending on what kind of shots fired. Obviously, if he launches a huge attack on Guam, China probably isn't going to stop us from annihilating South or North Korea. Now, here's the problem with any kind of military conflict with North Korea. First and foremost, we've got, like I said, thousands of dependents in South Korea. Now, if we targeted their nuclear weapons, and I think that we do know where they're at, and we do know how to target them. Even if we were successful in taking them out with our guided missiles and targeting practices that we have, smart bombs and such. Even if we took them all out, they've got thousands and thousands of pieces of artillery on the border 38th parallel. They can rain steel down on Seoul for days. Now we can take those out too, but they will kill thousands and thousands of people in South Korea. We've only got 30,000 troops over there now. Now that's enough. That's simply a stopgap measure. 30,000 troops, they're there just to try and hold on until such time as we can get more troops into the theater. So, going to war with North Korea, all out, conventional or non-conventional, is problematic. We can definitely handle them easily, but a lot of people are going to die. Now, if it does come to that, now he's made threats to Guam, says he's going to attack Guam middle of August. He's making plans to do so. And Trump throws back at him, fire and fury and all that exaggeration. Now, this is the first time we've had a president, however, that has thrown that kind of rhetoric right back at that guy, which is probably what we need, because we have sat back and taken this guy's crap for years, ever since the Bush administration, even the Clinton administration. When Clinton gave him $4 billion, and they promised not to go forth with their nuclear weapons ambitions, and we gave him $4 billion and nuclear rods, which are the pieces that are used to make nuclear weapons. Now, I don't understand that. I mean, in the 90s, I didn't pay much attention to it. who knows? You know, we give money away. In the 90s, we had all kinds of money in the United States. I guess nobody really cared. But we gave him $4 billion to not build nuclear weapons. Now here we are in 2017. They've got nuclear weapons. Now they've been working on it since, you know, since the 90s. Now they may have slowed down. They may have you know, halted it a little bit until the old man died, and then when the kid got in there, he kicked it back into gear. Now Bush ignored it, kicked the can down the road. Obama certainly ignored it. You know, his big thing was strategic patience. Ignored him, basically ignored him. You know, he can't hurt us, blah blah blah. Well, now he can hurt us. Now these ICBMs that he has developed can reach the West Coast, and now they're even saying maybe even the entire continental United States. He can certainly reach Guam, a U.S. territory. He can certainly reach Japan. He can certainly reach South Korea. He can certainly reach Hawaii. Probably can reach the West Coast. Now we have those THAAD missiles, you know, that we supposedly can knock these things out of the air. It's like a bullet hitting a bullet. In mid-flight, I guess they got about a 50-60% success rate. I don't think I want to live under 50-50 shot of surviving. Now, so there's several things that I think need to be done. First of all, this guy needs to know we're serious. This guy needs to know that, hey, we're not afraid, if it comes to it, to go to war with you. We're not afraid to eliminate you off the face of the earth if we have to do so. We don't want to. We want to leave you alone, but you better leave us alone. But if we're going to do that, the only way to make them realize that we are serious is you got to start preparing for it. Now, at this point, the only thing that we've done is, you know, Trump has said, hey, you know, fire and fury, we're going to, throwing right back at him the kind of rhetoric he's been throwing at us, you know, and that's a start. But if the guy's got a brain at all, he knows that we're not gonna start a fight with him as far as a military fight. We're not gonna shoot. We're not gonna make the first shot. We're not gonna take the first shot. We're not gonna you know, send troops across the 38th. We're not gonna bomb them immediately. But what we can do to make him know we are serious, in my opinion, and I seen a piece on. I seen it on one of the news channels, and Oliver North had come up with it, and what he says is spot on. You know, one of the first things we need to do. He didn't say this part, but it's one of the first things I would think that we'd have to. We got to get our dependents out of there. We have to get the dependents in South Korea, the loved ones of the military that we have over there, which, you know, South Korean tour of duty used to be a solo tour. You couldn't take your family. It was, you know, because technically we are still at war with North Korea from the 50s. That all changed. I don't know when they changed that, but when I was in the military and in the early 80s, you know, it was a hardship tour is what they called it. It was a 1-year deal. No dependents. You had to go over there for 1 year if you got assigned over there. I didn't have to go over there. I went to Germany and then I went to Fort Bragg. My son, who just recently got out of the Army, he did go to Korea. It was a 1-year tour. But there was dependents. You could take dependents over there. Of course, he didn't have any, but, you know, several of his troop mates did have dependents over there, and that's a large military family community over there now. So one of the first things you have to do is get the dependents out of the country. Get them out of the theater. Now, Guam's a different problem. Guam's a U.S. territory. They're all ours. It's like Puerto Rico. It's not a state, but it's a territory. They're ours. I mean, we defend them. They're citizens. They're just like us. I don't know if they're citizens or not. I actually don't understand territories exactly, but we're not going to let anything happen to Guam. That I know. It's like, I think they said there's 150,000 Americans in Guam. So that poses that we can't evacuate 150,000 people off of Guam. So that's problematic. But in South Korea, get the dependents out. That's gonna let Kim Jong, whatever the hell his twerp name is, that's gonna show him, hey, he's getting his dependents out of South Korea. They think they're gonna go to war. Secondly, THAAD system. That's that missile system where you're hitting a bullet into a bullet, knocking these nukes out of the sky. You need to deploy those all over. Now, I don't know why South Korea a few months ago didn't want them. I guess they thought that would enrage China. I think they pulled them out during the Obama administration. Pulled out those THAAD systems out of South Korea. I think they got it in Japan. We need to double, triple them up. Now that's something that Oliver North said in his piece. THAAD systems everywhere. Put them in Japan, South Korea, Philippines, Guam, everywhere where we have an interest. We need to put them everywhere. Now I don't know how many of these systems we have, and how many we have developed, how many we have on hand. We need to deploy them everywhere. Now, if it's a 50-50 shot, well, I want to shoot 50 missiles. I want to shoot as many missiles at their missiles as I can to knock them out of the sky. You know, if it's a 50-50 shot, I want to shoot 5 of them at one. You know, hopefully one of them will hit it. Thirdly, we need to obviously deploy a couple of battle groups over there, a couple of carriers groups. An amphibious marine division needs to go, you know, be on hand over there. You know, we need to put some troops into the theater, not in South Korea, but in the area of South Korea where they can deploy quickly if needed. You know, these are all things that can be done that will make this guy realize that we're not just saying, hey, you know, fire and fury if you mess with us. You know, it's telling the guy, we are preparing to destroy you. So it would be in your best interest to negotiate out of this. Now, I understand today that there are some back channel negotiations going on. Obviously, same thing happened in, you know, during the missile crisis in '62 with the Soviets. It was a back channel deal. That's how they got out of that. When the Soviets deployed missiles to Cuba, it was a back channel negotiations that got the missiles out of Cuba and eased the tensions there. But while this back channel stuff's going on, all of the threats and hyperbole, you know, goes on the outer surface. So we're all sitting here thinking, when are the bombs going to drop? They're not going to drop immediately. I don't think they ever will. Cooler heads will prevail. I don't think this guy is so stupid as to think that he could ever survive any kind of full-scale military conflict with the United States. Can't do it. Not to mention the United States and our allies. Some of the other things that can be done to let these people know that North Koreans know that we are serious, and a lot of people, you know, are against this. But at some point, we have to maybe think about sending nuclear batteries over to short-range nuclear missiles to South Korea, which we had over there at one time, and they pulled them out. Japan, who's not nuclear armed, you know, maybe we ought to nuclear arm these people. You know, it's a deterrent. China has always, we can't depend on China. Now, you know, he met with that quack in China. Trump met with him one of the first weeks of his administration, and supposedly he was going to, you know, put pressure on North Korea. It never happened. You know, he did some, you know, he eliminated some coal shipments over there. But North Korea could choke China out. You could choke them out. Now, here's the interesting thing. We could choke China out. Our economy could choke China's economy out if we wanted to do so. We wanted to put enough pressure on China. China would have to put pressure on North Korea because we could destroy their economy if we wanted to. That's what Reagan did to the Soviet Union. That's how we defeated the Soviet Union. Reagan choked their economy out, destroyed them. That's how the Cold War ended. So China has to get involved. If they don't get involved, this thing could spin out of control. I don't think it will. I think China is starting to realize Trump's not bullshitting. I think China's starting to realize that if some kind of conflict does happen, it's a no-win situation, not only for North Korea, but for China. Now, China could get involved. They could send their military across their border with North Korea and get involved. I don't think that would be wise on their part. Our military, we're well equipped to take on China too. Now, I wouldn't want to do that. That would be disastrous also. China's a problem, and will be until we do something with them trade-wise and eliminate them as a trade enemy, which is what they are, and get them to put some pressure on North Korea. These are all things that can be done, but we have to do some of these things to make him realize we're not just saying we're going to do this, we're preparing to do this. And if we do prepare to do it, you can bet that if we have to, we will. We won't hesitate. That's just my 2 cents. That's what I'm going to name my channel, My 2 Cents. If you don't like what you hear, turn it off. If you like what you hear, let me know. I'll probably post this on YouTube, put it on my Facebook channel, send it to my friends so that they can cuss me out and tell me I'm an idiot. I've got friends that are more than capable of doing that. But these are all things that I think about, worry about. I know. Here's another thing. If for some of these people that think, well, we lived under the cold, we had a nuclear deterrent with Russia, and we have a nuclear deterrent with some of these other countries. There's not many people. I mean, if you were born after 1978, you don't remember the Cold War. You don't have no memory of the Cold War. Not really. I mean, you were 10, 11 years old when it ended. You probably don't have a real memory of what that was like. I do. I was born in '63. I served in the military during the Cold War. I was in Germany. During the Cold War, I guarded a nuke site that was just the warheads that went on the missiles. There wasn't a launch site, but I remember the Cold War, and it was a scary deal. I don't want my grandchildren, my children, these millennials and the next generation, I don't want them to have to live under that constant fear that we had when the Soviets had their missiles aimed at us, and at any minute, at any misstep, could push a button and eliminate our country, and we could eliminate theirs. We don't need that. So, and I don't want that for my children and grandchildren. So, for you millennials out there that think this is all just warmongering, we cannot have a Cold War with North Korea. We cannot have a Cold War with a madman. This guy is clearly unhinged. This guy is a dictator. His people have it's nothing. His people have no clue what goes on outside of the borders of North Korea. They have no clue. They don't have internet access to the extent that we do. They don't have TV channels to show how the rest of the world works. Most of them don't even know what's going on in South Korea, how that economy booms. They're starving to death in North Korea. They're living under harsh conditions. And they think that's the way it is. Because that's the way it is, because this guy spends whatever money he has on nukes, military, whatever little money. And his military might is tied up in the nukes. The rest of his equipment is antiquated. No chance of any kind of a real conventional advantage there. They have no conventional advantage whatsoever. No advantage whatsoever, really, on any plane, except for the fact that they can inflict a lot of casualties. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Thanks for listening, and let me know what you think. So long.